Hello, this is Philip Brooks from Back with Brooks, and I'm going to do a small review / comparison video of the Skil PWRCORE40 40-volt top handle chainsaw against a more professional grade saw, the Makita XGT. So to start out, this little thing is super lightweight. I just used this on a climbing job today, taking down a Lombardy poplar. You've got your arborist ring. While this does hang kind of weird, I've found that just hooking this the Canadian style on your clip works pretty well. You've got your standard brake. To activate, you just pull this little slider back and it unlocks the trigger. Your battery has its charge indicator up here, and the release is on the tool itself. It's a toolless bar change. Just a big plastic knob over the nut, and then this little paddle for your chain tensioner. It has plastic bucking spikes and a screw-on oil reservoir, which is starting to get a little low. It does have a very large reservoir for the amount of cutting you can do on a single charge of battery. It comes kitted with a 2 amp hour battery. This is a 2.5 amp hour battery, and charger for about 170 bucks, unless you can find it on sale. If you find it on sale, you're going to walk away with it for 150 bucks. The bar is a very narrow bar, narrow kerf, and it's a 1/4 inch pitch. Very lightweight, very handy saw. The Makita saw has been tested in different situations, on different channels, putting it in head-to-heads against other top handle saws. It's being the XGT, it is also a 40 volt. It hangs better than this saw. This is one that I will take the ring on my lanyard and clip the ring into my tool carrier rather than hooking it Canadian style, because it hangs nice and straight. It's nice and clean. Also, standard chain brake. This one's a little bit more positive than that, because I think this is electric, whereas this one actually does have a clutch brake. The battery is just like a standard tool battery, so that's a very easy pop right in. This is a 4 amp hour battery. It's flush fit. The trigger has a trigger safety up here. However, your trigger is still dead. You have to mosquito. Anyway, push this button up top until you see the green light, so that you can turn it on. And it's kind of hit or miss how long that light stays on. This one does have steel bucking spikes, and while the oil cap is a threaded oil cap, there's this button that flips up a little handle. Boy, does it get tight. Sometimes you need a tool for this. be afraid to reach into your pocket and grab a Leatherman. You can find it. There it is. There it goes. It twists out. Twist it closed. Not like one of those, like on your Stills or Husqvarnas where it's a quarter turn and then pops right out. So I think that is about 16-inch bar on this specific model. This is the GCU 03 narrow kerf 3/8 inch pitch. And the Makita, you need a bar tool to do bar and chain tensioning and changes. So one of the biggest differences between the saws is just the weight. As far as weight goes, the Skil beats it. It's super lightweight. The Makita just feels like it's a gas saw. It's a heavy saw. However, the ergonomics on the handle are just better. It's easier to hold it in your hand because it's more square, and it's easier to position it if you have to use it single-handed. Whereas the more rounded handle of the Skil, you got to use a lot more grip, which can be a little bit difficult when it's hot and sweaty and dust and grime are just floating in the air. So that's another thing, is ergos on the Makita are a little bit better. Chain speed on the Makita is also better. However, I think the Skil has a little bit more torque, and also probably less safeties built into it, because this thing will stop if you overpressure, put too much pressure on it. It will stop cutting. Sometimes it can get quite annoying. So I guess let's do a few quick tests here. Let's see if I can get this to stay. I've got just an absolute mess of red oak around here. So let's cut some firewood. So this is about a 3-inch chunk. Not too bad. There we go. And two-step verification there. You can see that higher chain speed. This allows it to cut small stuff really fast, but it will bog down once you get the big stuff. Pull this a little more, do another cut here. Let's do another cut with the Skil. The Skil works pretty darn good. And like I said, I was just up in a tree with this today. I cleared probably like 40 feet of limbs off of a Lombardy poplar, and 2 batteries went just fine. Started getting to the point where, you know, we're down to the point where we needed to start cutting into the trunk, and then this is not the saw for that. Let's try to take, I've got this really big log here. I'd say it's about a 10-inch log. So let's take a look and see what we get here. high chain speed, but it gets stuck. Take this one. There we go. So high chain speed, once you start getting about probably half of this bar stuck in wood, you run into a situation where you've got to pull back and just let the chain work. You cannot force this saw. Otherwise it will get bogged down. Okay, let's try the Skil. Kind of the same thing here, but you can push on the Skil a little bit more. This is a battery issue. Had that low battery and it's warm. Give me a moment. I've got another battery. The 2.5 amp hour batteries are okay. I do like them. They're much lighter. They're pretty compact, but I do not have a 4 amp hour battery, but I'd like to get one. And I think that would give it drastically higher run times and drastically more power. All right, here's another full battery. Let me plug this in and we will continue. In the case of the Makita, it's got technology all over the place in the saw and in the battery to prevent you from messing it up. Most of that technology for this Skil is in the battery. Much slower, but didn't stop as much. Let me go right here, cut another log. Do this conversion. Now that is almost the full bar capacity. I got a 1/2 inch more on that, and this is red oak. This is a $150 saw kit on sale for sure. The Makita, kitted as it is, with a 4 amp hour battery and a charger and a 16-inch bar and chain, that's a $600 saw. And it is faster, but it has some of the funny business going on with it that the small saw has. And it's I don't know. Like, it'll stop like that for no reason. And it's just because something catches. I hope I'm still in frame. Faster, yes. Annoying? Also yes. This is it worth the price tag? For the ergonomics? Yes. For the power on it? Debatable. For the speed, yes. If you're doing stuff that's less than the length of the bar, like half the length of the bar, doing small stuff, like so. Very, very fast, very clean. The Skil just doesn't have the same speed, but I'm pushing on it here, and it's not bogging down, especially not on the small stuff. So here's my take on it. If you want to go with electric saws, taking a look at, say, the Makita or the Skil or the Husqvarna 40-volt saws, and you're using that saw professionally, you have a ton of batteries stocked up, you're in a bucket truck, you're doing heavy pruning constantly, that's probably going to be a better saw. But say you need a saw for pruning and they want you to use electric, say you only have gas, this is a good pickup for a throwaway electric saw. It's very reasonable quality, it's cheap, the batteries are reasonable, and it's so lightweight. Like this is like a gas saw, but you just don't have the runtime or the power of a gas saw, just because of the technology in this shuts it off when you're starting to bog down. And then in a high stress back cut, if it starts to shut down, you gotta pull the saw out, try to start it again. It's kind of a pain. So I still like the saw, but in the sense that this is a review of the Skil, and I used this to delimb an entire tree today, it's just a super lightweight, super handy little saw for a very reasonable price. And you know, it would also work too if you say you weren't a climber, but you understand chainsaws and you understand that a top handle saw is more likely to kick back, and it's easier to, you know, if you're on the ground, it's easier to hold it out with one hand, and you get kicked back in and you're safe. You know why that chain breaks there. Taking this, sticking it on, like say you're clearing trails, backpacking trails or mountain biking trails, you could stick this in a backpack, you can stick this on a bike, so long as you're not going all the way to the backcountry, because you're gonna end up killing yourself with the battery weight. At that point, it's easier to just go gas. But for, like, you got small stuff to do, it's a damn good saw. I'm gonna make one more cut, and I think we'll call it there. I like this saw. It's a good saw. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Philip Brooks from Backwoods Brooks, signing off.